Hey guys, what it do? It's your boy Supremacy the God, and today we're talking about Daniel Park. And what I want to talk about here, it might irk a few people, but just bear in mind with what I'm saying here and listen carefully. And then we can have a discussion. I think Daniel Park isn't as strong as people think he is. I think people think that UI Daniel is just unstoppable being that cannot be defeated. But he's been defeated twice. He's been defeated by Zach, and he's been defeated by Gunn. Right? We no Zach kind of off screened him. We don't really know what happened there. Maybe Daniel, regular Daniel inside, shut off UI Daniel so that he doesn't hurt Zach. We don't really know what happens, but we know that Zach came out right of that fight. This was when they went to fight Eli and the guys. They went to fight Ali Wang, I think. I can't really remember the exact. This was a while ago, but we know that UI Daniel can be stopped. He has perfect body, perfect techniques, everything. But he's lacking one major thing. In this video, I want to kind of discuss that thing. And I think the Jirang fight confirmed what I've been thinking for quite some time now. And I'll explain it. Now, Daniel has the power to copy, right? Perfect techniques instantly. His ability, in theory, makes him unbeatable. But yet, he struggles against the very best fighters. Right? Even against, do you remember when he was fighting against Gu? Gu wasn't going all out yet, right? But Gu didn't feel like he was gonna lose that fight. He was just like, oh shit, Gu. He takes hella hits and blah 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 blah. But as soon as he got serious with a stick that looked like a sword, we don't know what was gonna happen there. Okay? And then people say, oh, but Gu got low diff by Gun. He didn't get low diff by Gun. Gun kind of had plot armor, and I'm not gonna lie to you, because Gu basically stabbed his heart, bro. But somehow Gun managed to break the sword just before that exact move happened for that exact reason, because it was going to kill him. You know what I'm saying? So come on. Anyways, listen. Right. So martial arts in Lucasism even is not just form and execution. It's about intent, experience and emotion. Daniel, for all his talent, lacks the essence that transforms technique into something special, into something unique. Jirang is the best example of this. Well, actually, Gap Young is the best example of this, but we're gonna get to him. Now, we're gonna look at this fight with Gun, right? For example, Daniel in his ultra instinct state with his perfect body, right, should theoretically be invincible. His body moves on its own, adapting instantly to threats, and yet a completely depleted and exhausted Gun who had fought multiple top tier opponents before facing Daniel, his body was completely shattered, right, was still able to completely dismantle him, even though he was out of his own UI, right? This wasn't a fresh Gun at his peak. This was a Gun who had gone through war, fighting fighters like Gu, Jake, Eli, Johan. His body way beyond his limit, but he still dominated Daniel. Like, we can't call it anything else because of what Gun had just gone through. Right? The reason is simple. Gun understands something Daniel doesn't. Fighting isn't just about executing moves perfectly. It's about imposing your will, reading your opponent, and controlling the flow of the battle. But there's actually more to it than that, but I'll get to that later. Gun didn't just react to Daniel's movements, he outmaneuvered him mentally. He turned Daniel's greatest strength, his adaptability, into a weakness by dictating the pace and forcing Daniel into situations where imitation alone was not enough. The fight exposed the biggest flaw in Daniel's fighting style. He can copy, but he doesn't truly understand what he's copying. He doesn't. He sees what he's copying, he knows how to execute it, but he doesn't fully understand it. I'll get to that. Another prime example, of course, is his fight against Jin Rang. Daniel attempted to use the technique of Gap Young Kim, a man whose strength we know is rooted in willpower and desire to protect. We know Gap Young is the strongest among the strongest. Everybody's compared to this man. Nobody seemed to have ever defeated this guy, bro. He had to get snuck off and murked, at an old, out of his prime age, because prime Gap Young was whooping feet, man. He had goddamn Gun's daddies, depressed for years. You know what I'm saying? Gap Young whooped him so bad, he had him depressed for years, bro. Come on. We gotta understand, right? But when Daniel tried to copy Jin Rang here, it felt hollow. The technique was there, the movement, everything, but the spirit behind it was absent. He didn't feel it the way Jin Rang feels it, the way Gap Young felt it. Gap Young's strength comes from his unbreakable will, his need to fight for something greater than himself. And why I believe this is because, we see it through Jake. When Jake briefly unlocks a similar strength against Jin Young Park, Jin Young himself acknowledges that Jake in that moment became Gap Young Kim. The difference, Jake had something to fight for. His friends, his belief, his responsibility as a leader. For Big Deal, Daniel on the other hand was simply replicating movements without the emotional core that made them powerful. This highlights Daniel's biggest limitations, his lack of purpose. Right? Obviously, he has a purpose. He wants to stop the 4 big crews from doing damage to kids, but it's not that personal anymore. Right? And I know people will argue it is personal because his friends and this, but he's not actively in it. Right? Big Deal was actively in trouble when Jake unlocked that. Gap Young was actively protecting Big Deal, was actively doing things directly in front of him. Eli, when he pulls up to fight somebody to protect the kids that it's way more direct. Anyway, in the past, I think past Daniel, when he was, having all that trauma with his mom and stuff like that, I think that past Daniel with this body and this strength does better than current Daniel because of that, right? Now, obviously, that Daniel was a dickhead at some point, but I mean, this is like before he became strong, but before all these problems went away. You know what I'm saying? He trained and fought to create a better life for her, Daniel, that is. But now she's safe. She's pretty well out. She's okay. The driving force that once pushed Daniel forward is no longer there. Meanwhile, fighters like Eli, Johan, and Jake are still fighting for something deeply personal, whether it's protecting their families, avenging their past, or proving themselves. And they just seem to care a lot more about it. Like Daniel's kind of, I don't know, he seems a bit aimless, He just kind of sides with whoever helps him defeat the 4 major crews. And I think it's being proven here by the author by saying he's hollow. His moves are hollow. There's no meaning behind his punches and kicks. He can punch and kick really well, but there's no meaning behind them. True meaning, deeper meaning, not just surface level, I'm trying to help these people meaning. These fighters have stakes, and that emotional weight elevates the combat ability beyond just skill. Daniel, for all his talent, hasn't yet shown that same depth of conviction. He's a technical genius. But fighting is more than just the skill. It's the heart behind each strike, the conviction behind each technique. How many fighters have we seen that have won out of sheer willpower? UFC, whatever, out of sheer willpower over technique. Until Daniel finds something worth fighting for with his whole being, he may never reach the level of the strongest. His body may be perfect, but without true purpose, his technique will always be missing something essential, the soul of a fighter. His moves will always be hollow. That's just what I think. But let me know in the comment section. I know big Daniel fans might be coming from my neck, but listen, I've been reading Lucasism since the very start. You know what I'm saying? My memory isn't always perfect about things. You know what I'm saying? I know some people were cooking me about my last video where I said something about I misspoke a little bit about James Lee and Gunn, and I don't think they were completely right. But I don't think I said what I wanted to say the best way possible. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna reply to your comment eventually. If you're watching this video, I will eventually reply to that comment. It just there's a lot to explain to get to what I meant. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, it's been your boy Supreme Uchiha God. Make sure you leave a comment, subscribe. I'm out.